Hi, welcome to Photogrammetry Raw, where we talk about imagery, spatial imagery, how it applies to photogrammetry, reality capture workflows, point cloud colorization. We focus on getting the best images possible. Now, one of the big areas we work in that's been growing quickly over the last few years is 360 imagery. Now, I've been working in that field for a long time, using 360 cameras or nodal brackets and things. But what has happened now is as 360 imagery has become more appreciated as a really quick way to communicate complex sites, share information outside of a CAD environment. A few people have been jumping on that bandwagon and pushing the envelope of what you can do with 360. Now, the guy we're going to be having a conversation with, Jeffrey Martin, has been taking it to another stage where I've been using static. He's doing mobile 360 imagery capture and applying that to all sorts of applications. So I've been trying to nail him down for a conversation, and a couple of days ago we did. And this is the conversation that we've had. Hope you enjoy it. Hi, and welcome to Photogrammetry Raw. I've been trying to get him have a chat with Jeffrey Martin for a while now, but we've eventually caught up. And Jeffrey's going to explain a little bit about what he does. So Jeff, you've been working and now with, you founded Mosaic. Can you tell me a little bit more about your journey to that point and what your idea behind Mosaic was?
Sure. So my name is Jeffrey Martin. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Mosaic. We were founded in 2018 with the goal of building the best 360-degree camera systems for mobile mapping. So we've been shipping our hardware products since 2020. We're now shipping 3 different camera products. These include the Mosaic 51, the Mosaic X, and the Viking. And these range from lower cost, not cheap by any means, but lower cost camera for straight kind of Google Street View style of imagery to extremely high end, very, very high resolution, full car installations for the highest possible resolution mobile mapping. My personal background is, well, I'm living in Prague. I'm American, living in Prague for about 23 years now. And I've got a long background in 360-degree imaging, going back nearly 20 years, and in building various kinds of 360-degree camera hardware, going back about 15 years. Mosaic is my third company. And we are, I would say, we're still a small company, a little over 20 people, but we've, I think, made a very good mark in this industry of mobile mapping and geospatial imaging and 360-degree imaging. And yeah, I'm very happy with how far we've come today. We've, I think, got a fairly good name in the industry, and we're getting a lot of interest with the high quality of what we're building.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I know I'm a big 360 imagery guy. I'm a big proponent of it. It's great to see people taking it a bit more seriously than just a nodal ninja and things like that we've all been used to. But I was curious, what made you think about that? Was there a moment that you realized that 360 imagery and mobile was a big potential? Was there something that happened, or is it just a natural progression?
It was sort of the very beginning of discovering 360 imaging, actually, in like 2004, 2005. It struck me as a fundamentally geographic medium of photography because a spherical image or a 360 image, by definition, defines a single point in space. You can take multiple photos of like the Eiffel Tower and you can't be exactly sure where it was taken, but a 360 image, because it's pointing in so many directions, you can always triangulate it to a single place. So that struck me as fundamentally important thing that goes above just the medium of photography itself. And that's how I started my first company, which was called Prog 360, later became 360cities.net. And it was one of the first websites combining 360-degree images and a map. And this was in around 2005, so it predated Google Maps and Google Street View by a couple of years.
Okay, now that's really interesting. I mean, I think 360 imagery is completely underrated in terms of how you can communicate visual data and visual information. It's great. I mean, we've gone on parallel paths. Now, obviously, you've spent an awful lot of time developing the hardware, and I know how tricky that can be. But in terms of differentiating your cameras from, say, the other 360 imagery that is available on the market, a lot of people are using 360 cameras like Insta360s, etc. What would you say is different in the way that you think about it and the way that you deliver 360 imagery to the what we might call a prosumer type 360 imagery?
Yeah, so there are quite a lot of other 360 cameras that are on the market now and that have come and gone, and I would say almost all of them are, kind of consumer grade cameras and or cameras that are geared mainly towards filmmaking or video making or things like that. And any kind of tool is designed in a certain way with a certain use in mind, and 360 cameras are no exception. So some of these cameras like GoPro or Insta360 or whatever, they are great for what they're designed for, which is an individual person using it for fun and making fun images and pictures occasionally and casually. But if you're gonna bolt one of these to a car and use it for 8 hours a day for work for a job where there's a client involved and there's all kinds of logistics involved and there's a lot of costs involved if the tools cease to function, where maybe it's vibrating too much, or the connectors come loose, or the lenses get damaged. These types of things that might very easily happen to these consumer grade cameras because they weren't built for this kind of usage. They don't happen with our cameras because we've designed those things in mind. So we've designed our cameras to be really durable and not susceptible to shutting down due to heat or moisture, water, dust, vibration. The connectors are all like not going to come disconnected. The lenses are protected and all of this stuff. And then above all, we want to be sure that the images are high quality, that they're stable, that they're triggered when they're meant to be triggered, that we don't drop any frames, and that you can trust the device so that when you turn it on and you start recording, you don't have to worry about it. And anyone who's used a GoPro for this kind of work, and I love GoPros, I have a few, but for this kind of work, they're flaky and they're undependable, and you can't trust them. It makes the whole job more stressful.
Yeah, no, I think the thing I've found is just a very simple thing, like the amount of data that you've got to manage if you're doing anything more than a few minutes. I think that must be one of the big challenges. But you've obviously, in terms of innovations and new technologies and adapting these things, you've obviously spent a lot of time trying to fix these. Is there one particular thing that you think there was the key to move to a key feature or a key challenge that you faced in terms of how do you develop a camera like this?
I don't think there's one key thing. There's sort of a death by 1,000 cuts of things that you can do wrong. But I think
we've all done that. Yeah.
In the end, it's all about having a camera that it's a camera. It has to make good pictures. So if it doesn't do that, then none of the other stuff is important. And then
no, exactly. I mean, it's all about the quality of the image, whether you are using it for photogrammetry or inspection or whatever. A lot of people just don't get it's the quality of the image that is the be all and end all for anything or the processes. So obviously, I'm looking on your website and seeing your stories on LinkedIn and the social media stuff and things. There's a vast amount of applications. Is there one particular one that you think is where the market's moving to, or is there something you've had the most success in? I've seen you've done stuff on disasters and on streetscapes and smart cities and all sorts of things. But is there one particular thing that you think that it lends itself to better than anything else, or?
Well, I think, yeah, I've got a couple of thoughts around this. One thing is that I see a kind of a trend moving towards more and higher quality 3D data from photogrammetry rather than from LiDAR. And these tools has its place, but over the years, photogrammetry has become much more accessible and easy and fast. With the evolution of GPUs and the software, and LiDAR have also become cheaper as time goes on, but the level of quality you can get from just photogrammetry is really quite amazing, and it can you can do with a single camera something with a higher level of detail than you can with a $1 million LiDAR system.
Well, I think that's people don't understand that a lot of the LiDAR users have a button press on mobile scanning and they get a beautiful point cloud, but it's just not the same quality as a 360 image in terms of conveying realism and stuff. Just on a side tangent, obviously the last year or so, we've had this great adventure of nerfs and now Gaussian splats and things. Do you find that? Do you think that your camera is going to be able to help people develop that? I mean, it's really exciting for us photogrammetrists.
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of I sometimes think I'm going to be extinct, but then again, it's all about quality of imagery. So, do you think this is a major way that we will actually be able to use data and apply this new?
Definitely.
Neural stuff.
And
okay.
yeah, we've been playing around with nerfs. We haven't played around with the Gaussian splats yet, but it looks like it's a similar process, and the results are absolutely stunning. And for certain applications, it's definitely better than photogrammetry. If you want to have kind of a fly-through video, if you want to just create a bunch of images of a place and then define a path for the virtual camera to move through and to make a video out of that, the results are absolutely stunning, and in a lot of cases far superior to photogrammetry, because you can capture or simulate transparent, translucent, and shiny surfaces, and the kind of background that is in 3D, like the sky and things like that, remain in the result. And for applications like games and visual effects.
No, 100% agree. It's some amazing stuff. I mean, I although I'm a photogrammetrist, I'm rebranding myself as a spatial imager, because it's about different techniques. If I need precision inspection, 3D models, and photogrammetry is going to give me that. But if I'm looking for a visualization or trying to convey information, I just think it's amazing. And that's why I particularly wanted to chat with you, bring this up, because I think the 360 camera is going to be a new level of data capture, which for my view, just makes
for nerfs and things like that.
I mean, LiDAR basically for me is just capturing geometry, but with the 360 you're capturing light and the environment and stuff. So that's really interesting. And you've been shipping units out there. Is there one really big success that you go, yeah, we nailed it, and the client goes, yeah, this has changed the way we think about the world? Is there something that you look at and go, yeah, one particular project?
Yeah, for sure. We have one customer in Denmark who captured all of Denmark with our cameras. All of Denmark. So I think it's about 97% of the publicly accessible roads were documented over the course of about 6 months.
So like Google Street View on steroids type thing.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
And they're very proud of the fact that they have a far higher density of coverage than Google. Google typically gets maybe 60 or 70% in that region, and they get, you know, really almost all of it. And they did that with our cameras, and it went pretty smoothly.
Okay.
And that's something that we're very, very proud of.
Well, I think that's a really interesting story, because I think the perception in the geospatial market is that this is something that is, you know, it's a new, not toy, but it's a serious tool delivering serious work. I think that's one of the things that people don't understand, is that this is a viable alternative to X £1,000 IMU, GPS rated, all the other stuff that you would put into a mobile scanning unit. So
right, yeah. For sure.
So I'm really interested in where you are likely to be getting, or your challenges that are going to come up in terms of how you adapt. Is there something that you're working to for the next generation? Obviously, everybody's looking at, you know, you're always constantly moving with development. Is there something you're looking at developing, or something you think the market needs that we haven't got yet?
Yeah, sure. So I can talk about this in general terms. So at our next big trade show, which is Intergeo in Berlin,
I'll be there as well. I hope to see you
there. October. We'll be showing off our newest device, which will be solving something that we've been asked about a lot, which is how can you do captures not on a car, but on foot or on a bike or on a motorbike or things like that. So we'll be showing a great device that is just as good as our, you know, larger car-mounted devices, but is much more portable and allows you to use it comfortably on foot or on a bike or on other, you know, smaller vehicles, to capture pedestrian zones, sidewalks, shopping malls, airports, museums, and other places like that, where having this heavier camera that's meant to be used on a car is you know, possible but not suitable.
Okay, so that sounds really exciting. Yeah. So I mean, I think this is definitely moving from vehicle mounted, car mounted, into rucksack mounted, portable mountain on a mountain all-terrain bike, or walking around a museum. I think this is where the quality of imagery and delivering it, there's a massive application for that. Must be.
Yeah.
We're going into going where Google does fears to go.
Yeah. And of course, you know, there's always a trend with all cameras to go higher and higher resolution. And I think there's always a kind of practical and functional limit to that. I don't think we've quite gotten there, but we're close. So I don't think having like a, you know, gigapixel resolution camera that's the size of your fist is ever going to happen. But I think we can probably do with a little bit more resolution before we hit some hard limits of like optics and, you know, sensor size and cost and depth of field and things like that.
Yeah, I think the sensor size is going to be the pixel size. We've almost reached the limit of what is doable right now. So, you know, with the Sony sensors getting up to the size, but I think it's going to be, I think your solution of having multiple imagery, which is, and combining that, has to be the way forward. It's not going to be.
Yeah.
I was curious though, as a photogrammetrist, I mean, one of the things I'm really interested in is how we can take your data and your workflow for producing 3D models, as built or whatever. I was just curious to know how you manage that workflow. Obviously the camera data is great, blah blah blah,
right.
But I was just curious, for a lot of the people don't understand that you can use 360 imagery as a photogrammetric data capture device. You just have to know how to do it and do it well.
Right.
I was just curious to know what your workflow was, and how does, you know, it's a bit of trial and error. I know I've been through that pain, but how do you actually convert it? Could you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to talk about that a little bit. So, we've been working for about 2.5 years now on our process of photogrammetry, and I can say that we've impressed a lot of people who are more experienced than I am with the quality of our models, and I've been pleasantly surprised by that. And we've gotten some very interesting clients as a result. So we're working on a tool that will allow people to get 3D reconstructions from our camera data without having to go through this sort of painful learning process that we're going through. So photogrammetry, it's really extremely dependent on the data going in and how it's made on the result of the finished product. And it's not just like sort of a straight up garbage in, garbage out kind of deal, but the way that it is, the way that it's shot and what directions you're moving in, and if you have GPS data or not, and the quality of that data, and the the actual subject matter as well, how much of the stuff you're shooting is moving or not, and how much sort of superfluous things are there, like people and moving cars. So there are really tons of kind of difficult variables to deal with, that makes it hard to have a very stable and guaranteed process that's always going to work no matter how big your data set is. And it sort of quickly becomes very problematic with a larger data set. With a if you're going to drive around the block or drive around a parking lot or something for 2 minutes, then it's pretty straightforward to get some good results, at least for us now. But if you're going to drive for like 30 minutes to an hour, like through a city, then there can be a lot of things that not that they go wrong, but will need fine tuning.
Yeah,
process.
There's just 1,000 things that can help you. Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely not a straightforward kind of process. I would say that for sure it's extremely helpful to have very accurate GPS data, ideally RTK data, so that you have kind of 10 centimeters level of accuracy in your location, including in your altitude, so that if you go around the block, when you get back to where you started, your position data shows that you are where you started, and that you're not, in fact, if you have like bad GPS, then it tells you that you're where you started, but you're 30 feet above where you were, and then it might not want to try to join the data back together.
Yeah, okay.
So there are a lot of things that can go wrong. Our process, we're building this kind of customized workflow that helps with pre-processing the images, to do things like removing objects that are moving, that are known to be moving, certain types of objects like the sky, like cars and things like that, that help the process of lining up all the images together, to get a more accurate alignment of all the images. So we're working on that kind of stuff that is not necessarily part of existing photogrammetry software. And then we have a very precise calibration of our camera, of all of the sensors and lenses and their position relative to each other, and the distortion coefficients of the optics and everything else. And because it's a 360 camera, and because it's 6 sensors that are fixed relative to each other, that can help the photogrammetry process a lot in getting a more stable result. So what we plan on doing this year is releasing this 3D reconstruction helper tool that will allow people to have a little bit more of a plug and play solution for 3D reconstruction, and it'll be somewhat software agnostic. So if you want to use context capture or Metashape or whatever, it'll be possible to use any of those photogrammetry software in the background.
Okay, that's really interesting. I mean, I think the challenge of photogrammetry software, you've nailed it in terms of it's largely about the quality of the imagery. And and when things move, with trees blowing in the wind, cars move, trying to register and use those for time points, it kills an awful lot of things. That's why I was curious to know about what your workflow was, but it's really interesting to see that that's the way you're going. So obviously the software you did say the software's going to be pretty well agnostic. It's about processing the imagery before you, or producing the 3D model. Got you. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing that and having a play with that. Alongside that, though, is there anything new that you think the market's going to be asking for? Or do you just think it's is your challenge really educating people as to the potential of what 360 imagery can do? I know that's always been my problem. People just think it's a GoPro gimmick for, use on your surfboard or something, but they don't realize that it's a serious tool that produces seriously accurate results. Is that going to be a marketing challenge rather than a technology challenge, do you think?
There's always a marketing challenge there. I think in the industry that we're in, a lot of people are already aware of the medium and are quite familiar with it. But I'm always happy and willing to evangelize the medium of mobile mapping and 360 imaging and photogrammetry and things like that. And I think people will more and more start to use these types of 360-degree camera systems for 3D reconstruction as these camera systems become higher and higher resolution.
Okay. I mean, I know you have interesting partnerships with the likes of Regal and integrating systems alongside those. You see yours as a complementary, just adding more quality information to those sort of systems. Is that really what you're positioning?
So as you said, LiDAR are great for getting the geometry of objects, but they don't get any color information. And some LiDAR systems come with cameras. Often these cameras are not, I would say they don't respect the quality of these extremely high quality LiDAR that they're paired with. So we're getting more and more demand from customers from Regal, for example, and also we're getting a lot of requests from Trimble and Leica users who are unhappy with the quality of the imagery from the Ladybug, and they would like to upgrade to something that is better. So
I think there's been some great examples of 360 cameras which are either incredibly expensive or just don't deliver the quality of image that you might think they should be. So it's great to see what that's the focus of what you're doing. And where do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself in the company in a year, 2 years time? Is there a plan? Or is there a master plan, or is you just looking to see what the market does? I think. I think one of the really interesting things is what's going to be happening to data capture and the ability of, and people may use them more like the NERF type based processes. But where do you see yourself fitting into the market? Is there a big plan to take over the world, or is it just like
of course,
have some fun?
I mean, we started out as a hardware company because that was the opportunity that we saw. That was the really serious kind of hole in the market, that there were so many people who wanted to do mobile mapping and street view photography, but there wasn't really any good hardware designed for this purpose. So that's what we set out to build. And now that we have some stable and mature hardware products, we can start building the software and services on top of that, so that our customers can solve everything with this product and not have to look around for other software and services to do what they want to do. So if we can offer our customers a way to do the anonymization and blurring of faces and license plates, AI detection of street furniture and other types of assets, to do 3D reconstruction and things like that, then I think that'll be a big win for everybody, and it'll help our customers to be much more efficient at what they do.
Okay, that's great. Well, I think that's really all I wanted to cover today, Jeffrey. But thank you so much for your time. Really fascinating to see. No, not a problem. I just like talking to champions and people who've got a vision and have got an idea and are taking on the big boys. Good
Great.
luck to you. More power to you.
Thank
I
you.
think it's really interesting that there's a whole community of people who are working in, whether it's image processing, photogrammetry, nerfing, but it all comes down to the data and the quality of image that you get. That's the be all and end all. So thank you very much for your time, and
thanks a lot, Barry.
No problem, and I look forward to speaking, seeing what goes on, and meeting up with you in Berlin.
Yep, see you in Berlin. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. It's always great to talk to entrepreneurs, innovation. I love the idea of the stories of how an idea comes to fruition and product development. I've been working in product development for years, and it's just great to see other people doing, taking their idea and bringing it out. 360 imagery is one of those things that is just gaining more and more momentum. And with that in mind, if you want to know any more about 360, I've launched a training course on it. If you go to my website, you'll be able to find out more information about that. But can I thank Jeffrey for his time? It was great, and Lynn at Mosaic as well for helping me organize this. If you've got any ideas about what subjects you want me to cover, please feel free. And we're going to be doing this about every week, or maybe a bit when I find some time to do these things, and just to keep people informed about some of the best practices of how you can use your camera and get great data that we can use. All right, I look forward to seeing you for the next one.